This is a love letter to the Parker Fly Deluxe, one of my favorite guitars of all time that came out in the mid-90s. And it was built by one of my favorite luthiers of all time, Ken Parker. I just picked one up and I want to share this with you. I want you to see up close all the quality and the innovative features that this guitar has. And I think once you do see this guitar up close, you'll share a deep respect with it, the same respect and love that I have for it. Let's get to it. So, super excited. Today is New Guitar Day. What I have here beside me is a 1997 Parker Fly Deluxe in emerald green, and I can't wait to unbox it. I've been waiting all week. It's been sitting in this box in my office for about a week. So what we're going to do is unbox it, take a look at the specs, all those really interesting, innovative features that Ken Parker introduced in the mid-90s. All right, I got it out of the box, and that wasn't easy. This came with the original hard shell case, and those are hard to find. I'm super happy and super lucky. Let's check this out. Okay. Oh my goodness, look at this. This is so dreamy. Look at this. Emerald green. And look at this, a spring for nines. Oh my God. An extra spring. Oh, the whammy bar? No way. Oh, I'm super stoked. I've always been into innovative, futuristic guitars my entire life. So I believe it was 1992 or 92. I bought a brand new Parker Fly Deluxe in the silver color, very rare color. And it was pretty awesome. I love that guitar, recorded with it, played with it. Then I came to Austin. I moved to Austin, and everybody here was playing SGs and Tellys. So it was a very hip, kind of alternative type of town. I felt like I didn't fit in. So I sold that Parker Fly, and I regret it every single day. Whatever, I think I compromised my integrity, really. And so since then, I've been searching for a replacement, but these things have appreciated in value, and they're very expensive. And so it's hard to get one in pristine condition that isn't inexpensive. These go for quite a few $1,000s. So when this one popped up, it was relatively inexpensive, and there's a reason. So there's a chip here that's actually going through this exoskeleton, and you can see the bare wood. There are two screws here, and this is from a roll-in pickup. A lot of people are putting roll-in pickups in these things, and I can clearly see that here. There's some damage here in the lower horn, and my guess is someone tried to repair it. That's my guess. And there's some damage here, which I think someone tried to repair too, because there is what I would think is paint that's proud of the original exoskeleton. This is not like just someone bumped it and it cracked open. I think this is a repair. And I think this is a repair too here. Now on the back, it looks pretty good. Scratches, scuffs. This is a belt buckle rash right there. Scratches here from someone trying to put on the actual strap. This is going in my collection, and I'm never selling this thing. Well, my new rule of thumb is never sell, ever. I'm never selling any guitars ever again. Every guitar I've ever sold my entire life I've regretted. Every single one. So this one's gonna be with me forever. I'll probably be buried with this guitar. This is so cool. All right, let's go through the specs. Let's get some close-up shots. So let's start with this bridge. The bridge is definitely one of a kind and completely custom for this guitar. So Ken Parker wasn't buying off-the-shelf products when he was designing this guitar. He basically designed a bridge for this guitar. Very similar to today what Ola Strandberg has done with the Strandberg. You build the ecosystem. So this is all basically custom designed for itself. And so this is a lightweight alloy that's cast with a precision lost wax technique used in making fine jewelry. Now, Paul Reed Smith once said that the reason why a guitar goes out of tune is because something moved. Something moved. And so if we have fewer components, so if there are fewer mechanical things that are able to be adjusted, then you are more likely to stay in tune. So this bridge is not a stock item. The radius of this fretboard here is identical to the radius of this. It's been designed into it. So the whole point is to not have a lot of moving parts. The fewer parts you have, the better. And it also looks interesting from a design perspective. So it doesn't look like your everyday off-the-shelf component. So this bridge is equipped with the minimal hardware needed to adjust the overall bridge height and the individual string lengths. So I got this Parker at a bargain price, and there's a reason. You'll notice that there are 2 holes, 1, 2. So someone installed a Roland hex pickup. It was very common back in the 90s for people to see these forward-thinking designed guitars and place things like MIDI pickups on them. So you saw this a lot back in the day with the Parkers and the Steinbergers. They just attracted the same type of person to do almost the same type of mod. Now, this particular bridge also has a piezo system. Let's talk a little bit about that. So Ken Parker teamed up with Larry Fishman, and we all know that Fishman actually are pioneers in constructing and designing really unique pickup strategies. And so what Fishman did here is he acknowledged the idea of this really unique design, and he really had a breakthrough with the piezo electric pickup during this era. And this piezo system has really exceptionally realistic acoustic guitar type sounds. And because this piezo system is on a bridge that has a tremolo system, what Fishman did was they actually employed a patented signal conditioning circuitry to eliminate the noise from all the unwanted rumbling created by the moving bridge. That's crazy to have this much technology in a guitar back in the 90s. This guitar is exceptionally thin. In some places, it's about 17 millimeters thin. But if you've ever seen Ken Parker's prototype, it's remarkably thin. The idea Ken Parker had was, let's actually take the most resonant part of an arch top, which is the arched top, and let's just make that the guitar. So his original Fly prototype is super thin, and it's constructed in the same way using a lightweight solid core wood with a very rigid exoskeleton. Now, the reason why he couldn't put that in production, and he was a bit bummed by it, was because magnetic pickups are so stinking thick. So you have these very, very thick pickups that were designed decades ago that you're kind of stuck with. And this is something I've always struggled with as a builder myself. You're kind of bound to the pickup and the thickness of the pickup and the shape of the pickup. And you have to submit to the design language of the pickup. Now, these are custom designed DiMarzios. They're custom designed because they needed to be thinner. So these are much thinner in height than a traditional humbucker. And I remember back in the 90s, all the debate about whether your tone was being sacrificed because of the thinner height, and people wanting to swap them out, etc., etc. I think these pickups do sound different. This whole guitar sounds different. And so it doesn't quite sound like a traditional fat PAF. I get it. But that's the whole point of this guitar. It's a unique palette of tones. If you want your fat humbucker sound, go grab your Les Paul, man. So these DiMarzios are screwed directly into the wood. There are 2 screws, this one and this one, that not only act as the lugs, but are actually directly mounted to the wood. Right? So you get all that maximized transmission of acoustic energy. And the thing you can see here is this one's sunken in. So the last tech to set this up really dug deep in there. So I'm going to have to fix this. I'm going to back these out a little bit and maybe even take the pickup out to determine why it's sunken in so much. That's going to be a little bit of investigative work on my part, and I'm happy to do it because this is one of my treasures and my prizes in my collection. So the direct mount system, I want to demonstrate how awesome this direct mount system is. So I'm going to bang on this thing and you can see there's absolutely no movement. It's rock solid. It literally doesn't budge, not even a ½ millimeter. And you've seen pickups before, right? You touch them and they kind of like wiggle around because there's only like 2 pivot points. Some of the newer pickups have like 3 points. They're less likely to move. This does not wiggle at all. It's literally like mounted in here in such a manner that it just does not move. I love that. And I want to figure out how they did that because it just doesn't wiggle at all. I'm hitting this as hard as I can. It doesn't move. So I know I've spent a lot of time on this bridge, but the bridge really is quite extraordinary. And I wanted to show the vibrato bridge tension adjustment control here. This is not only visible here in the front, but also in the back. And this allows you to adjust the tension. So you know how on your Floyd Rose or your Strat, you got to go into the back of the actual guitar, unscrew the plastic cavity cover, and you have to use a screwdriver to get those two screws on the trem fork to go in and out to adjust basically the tension. So you can take care of that here without actually having to open up any cavity. I'll open up the back in a moment so that we can take an inside look at the view of the vibrato bridge system. But I wanted to demonstrate this flat spring. So Parker has this really unique shape, and his design for the guitar really demanded a special vibrato system. So his solution was to construct this low friction, non-locking system. And again, another innovative thinking or rethinking of an original tremolo design using a flat spring due to the thinness of the instrument. So because this instrument is so thin, you really have to rethink all the components that you're putting inside of it, like your pickups and like your spring system. I'm super lucky when I got this. There's a spring in here for 10s, and I also have an extra spring for 9s. These springs are hard to come by. One of the downsides, or one of the cons of owning a Parker, is that once this spring goes out, you're never going to find an actual OEM replacement. You'll have to basically construct something on your own. These are really hard to find, and I'm just lucky, again, so lucky that this one came with an extra one. I'll spend a few moments just talking about the vibrato arm. Again, I consider myself lucky that it came with one because these are also hard to come by, but it's like a hexagonal shape, so it's not round. And the port for it is also hexagonal. I'm using the term hexagonal. I haven't counted the sides, but we'll just say hexagonal for now. So the port for the trem arm has the exact same amount of sides as the trem arm. And so when you install it and you slide it in, there's no wiggle room. It's not a round bar and a round port. There's 6 or 7 sides. And so it basically sits in there nice and snug. So the Parker does actually have a compartment for the 9-volt battery here on the side of the guitar, where it's the most thickest. You can see that the actual cavity tapers down thinner on the left-hand side as the entire guitar tapers down in thickness. These aren't wood screws. They're actually set into inserts. And the really cool thing about this is that these screws actually cannot be lost. So they're designed in a way so that they never come out of the actual cavity door. So you never lose them. The Parker also is a stereo guitar. So we have a button here that actuates either stereo or mono mode. So you can use your standard mono guitar cable, if you have it in mono mode, or you can run in stereo with the TRS cable, and you can actually split the actual signal, so your piezo and your magnetics can be routed however you like. So we have a traditional 3-way switch for the magnetic pickups. We have our bridge, the very front we have our neck, and then the middle position is the 2 inside coils of the humbuckers for that in-between sound. I gotta admit that it doesn't quite sound like a single coil. It sounds quite unique, but it's nice to have those type of tonal options. We have a traditional volume knob for the magnetics and a traditional tone knob for the magnetics. Back here we have our switch that lets you choose between the magnetics and the piezo system. So towards the front, magnetics, towards the back, piezo, and in the middle, it's both. And when you do have it in the middle, now you can take advantage of the master volume knob. This means you have your direct volume right here for the piezo system. You have a concentric pot, so tone for piezo, and you also have your volume and tone for magnetic. So with your volumes for your magnetic and piezo, you can adjust them to your liking and then use the master control when you need it. Let's talk for a moment about stainless steel frets. Ken Parker's intent, at least I think his intent, was to make a guitar that didn't require as much maintenance as a traditional guitar. Ken Parker started off repairing guitars. He saw pretty much almost every type of repair known to man. And so he was able to design a guitar that would at least stand the test of time and not require as much maintenance. And I have to admit, since this guitar is nearly 30 years old, as soon as I played it, it played like butter. These stainless steel frets are smooth, they don't have any indentations, and they play as if they were like polished a moment ago. And I think if Ken Parker were to see this guitar right here, to see like all the chips, you know, all this plain wear all over the guitar, right, everywhere, but see these stainless steel frets just immaculate, he would be really proud, I think. The other unique feature about these stainless steel frets is that they are hardened stainless steel. And hardened stainless steel frets are different than normal stainless steel frets. Parker actually reached out to a company to have these specifically made. So these aren't the type of stainless steel frets you buy today. These don't exist. These are also a tangless design. So you have direct integration between the fret and the fretboard. This is almost like a lost science or lost art. And I'm glad that Ken Parker has a YouTube channel, and I'm glad that he's actually putting this on record, like as a historical record, because no one does this anymore. No one will probably ever do this again. This is that unique. Ken Parker also used self-lubricating graphite nut. The only off-the-shelf part that Ken Parker used on the Parker Fly were these made in the USA Spurzl tuners. These are all the lowest height possible. So you know how you can buy a staggered set these days, where they go tall and then kind of slowly go down in height? These are all the short ones. That allows us to have the break angle we need from the nut going down without the use of string trees. I love the side dots. Sometimes you get so sick of seeing circles, and they're perfect ovals. And I don't know how you do that. I mean, like, I could machine that if I had this on its side, but otherwise, I'm not really sure how they manufactured that. I love the upper horn. I love all the carves and contours. Most people don't like it. Obviously, some people claim that this part is always digging into their chest, and guess what? That claim is true. Every time I put this on, this part digs into my chest. I don't care. I love this guitar so much that doesn't bother me. Emerald green. It's gorgeous. On the back of the guitar, we have that vibrato bridge tension knob here as well. We have two height adjusters for the bridge. And we have the switch for going from locking to floating. Down here, we have a battery status light. This one is already slightly opaque from years and years. The battery clearly is there to provide power to the onboard piezo preamp and the internal mixer. And the actual unique mixer circuit uses this sophisticated voltage doubling synthesis circuitry that gives you twice the clean headroom compared to common onboard electronics. So basically, the circuitry allows the Fly to blend the magnetic pickups with the active piezos, really expanding the tonal range and all your options. It's a little dusty here. I don't think this plate has been taken off in quite a while. So I mentioned earlier that we do have a spring for tens, and here it is. There is the tension adjustment wheel, which is also quite dusty, but is to be expected. And then we have the switch as well here for balanced or for hardtail locking. These are the adjustments for the height of the bridge. And then here we have our circuitry. So this is the Fishman Fly 1 Rev 1 board. Trim pot for piezo gain there. We have all the ribbon cabling, our switches, our jack. Everything looks nice and neat and tidy in there. There's a little bit of electrical tape here, which is odd. I wouldn't expect to see black electrical tape. All right, so I just checked online on Reverb and looked at a couple of photos of 90s era Parker flies, and this switch is not on the back of any of them. So this was put in after the fact by someone. So it looks like, I think they might have had a switch for some purpose and they hacked into the power supply here of the battery. That's my guess. The other quite beautiful thing about the Parker is the manual, which in and of itself is a work of art. And it's so cool to have a company think about something like the handbook that actually does have an illustrator and a layout and designer. This wasn't just cobbled together, it was well thought out. So think about this. These aren't photographs, these are actual illustrations. An artist drew these. Every portion of this is illustrated. Someone drew this. And I love it. And I just wanted to show this on camera to capture it, because I don't think anyone else has put this on camera. And you have to appreciate this on some level. You have to appreciate the level of effort and the love that was put into something like the manual. So I hope you like this video on the Parker Fly Deluxe. It's one of my favorite guitars, and I'm always enthusiastic about talking about these Parker Flies from the mid-90s. I know that not everybody's the same, everybody has different interests and different tastes. This one is actually an acquired taste, I'm sure. A lot of people don't like the look, the design, the overall construction. It is a little bit odd and it takes some getting used to. But I hope my enthusiasm and my love for this guitar showed through when I was talking about it. I'm actually super interested in what your favorite guitar is. Let me know. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.